Hello. Hi, everyone. Hiya, hi.
Hello, I'm from California.
Hello, hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's 10 in the morning over here.
Oh.
I'm in California too. Hi, Ray.
Hey,
Hiya.
where are you from? Where in California?
In the Sierra foothills above Sacramento.
I live in Sacramento.
Oh,
Do you have a non-dual meeting that you go to
no,
in California? No.
it's a good idea.
I know. I'm trying to find one.
Izzy, you want to come?
Yeah.
Sure.
Talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, no, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, hi everyone. Nice to see you all. Okay, so what's this about? Well, of course, it's not about anything. So there isn't even a message, so to speak. All that is being suggested, one could say, is that this is it, so to speak. So this being an apparent body sitting on a chair, listening to Izzy on Zoom, sitting, breathing, asking questions, thinking, is all there is. So, I mean, there is no message. As I say, there's nothing that could be said or that needs to be said. So what is sitting on Zoom, apparently sitting on Zoom, is naturally whole and complete, one could say. So it's naturally perfect, just as it is. But of course, this is a totally blind perfection, one could say. So what is totally blind to itself. And it's just totally innocently, perfectly itself, one could say. So of course there is no knowledge of this. There's no knowledge of sitting on Zoom. There is no experience of sitting on Zoom. There is no awareness of sitting on Zoom. Sitting on Zoom is what appears to be happening, but of course it's not actually happening. Nothing ever happens. So there seems to be these apparent bodies that claim, I am happening, I am a me, I am X years old, this is me, this is my life, one day I was born, one day I will die. So of course there's nothing wrong with this, there's nothing wrong with anything. This also is just what is. It's an apparent body saying, I'm me, I'm sitting on Zoom listening to Izzy. So of course the suggestion, one could say, is that this is an illusion. And there is no actual illusion. This is an apparent illusion that there is someone. There isn't. There's no one. And this apparent illusion can just suddenly collapse, one could say. An explosion into boundlessness. To be revealed, one could say, that there only ever was boundless energy. There never was a separate me. There never was a separate individual. There is no me. Okay, well, I think that's it from me for a little introduction. So anyone's welcome to unmute themselves and ask a question or comment or just have a chat. Yeah, let's see what happens. Okay. Got one in the chat. Do you consider Vipassana a useful practice? Well, of course not. No. There is no useful. There's nothing that's useful. There is no useful anything. There is no use in anything. Of course, Vipassana, meditation, yoga, whatever may appear to happen, but they already happen to, by, and for no one. I mean, for me, with Vipassana and things like this, they always were to get something or to get somewhere, or even if subtly, to not get something or be present or not get anywhere. Still had an agenda, one could say. So, yeah. There's nothing wrong with Vipassana, of course. It doesn't seem to happen much here anymore, but, or at all. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Izzy. I feel a little bit embarrassed because every question is coming from the mind on some level. And so, okay, here we go with a question, another question. So I've heard that you did go to non-dual meetings before you had, whatever happened that allowed the self to drop away or be seen that it's not real. Yet, not the word yet. I'm not even sure what language to use, but I am curious what knowing. I know there is no knowing, but prior to the self falling away, apparently there was some questions that came from you also, and some attempts of understanding or knowing or peering through. Or so I'd like to ask you to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, me was just me in that sense. This seems to just be how the setup works. So in this sense, of course, there was nothing special or different about Izzy seeking in that way. But yeah, I mean, I attended sort of a few non-dual things within the last few years, as kind of my interest in spirituality kind of changed, I guess you could say, sort of less kind of Buddhism or religion, and more kind of just into Advaita, more traditional Advaita, and then came across this so-called message via Andreas and Tony. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not really anything to say, of course. There was an awakening, and then obviously I survived that, one could say. I was still there and sort of understood intellectually, one could say, that it didn't happen to me or that there is no one, but of course I still felt like me. So it seemed very, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'd like to again ask you to break that down, because you were going to non-dual meetings, you were asking questions, you were also curious or seeking or something like that. And something allowed your being or to see more clearly, something like that, you know.
Well,
a little bit more, the self fell away. So I think it's easier to talk about what it was like after the self fell away, and I'm curious about what happened in the, you know, even though nobody will have a different, everybody will have a different suggesting a path or anything like that. But I am curious about what was seen, understood, woven together, something.
Well, I mean, one could say, of course, these apparent insights seem to, of course, be more attributed with this apparent awakening, I would say, because, as I say, there was someone that survived that. So I don't know, I remember there were phrases that I sort of turned into mantras very exhaustingly, which is sort of that everything arises out of nothing, and all there is nothing being everything. I mean, I really can't remember, to be honest. These sorts of whole things just fall apart in that sense, of course. But so yeah, as I say, these apparent insights seem to, and then because I survived that, they seem to happen to me. And as I say, they're turned into something, a mantra, a doctrine, a knowledge, a philosophy, a truth, whatever. But yeah, then about 9 months later, this whole setup just collapsed. So of course, seen from the person, this is death. Totally. So of course there is no, it's just the end of the idea even of insight, the apparent end. So there is no insight now. Of course there is no message. So there just is nothing being everything, which is this. Yeah, so these apparent insights with this awakening, but of course then this whole game just totally collapses. And of course there's no before and after, because it doesn't happen. And equally there's no, I've lost my train of thought now. No, gone. Sorry, it was probably a real gem.
What lost a train of thought?
Sorry?
Who or what lost a train of thought? Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, there is no one. Yeah. There's just what appears to be happening. Is he appearing to think? Is he appearing to lose her train of thought? Is he speaking? There just is no me, no one inside, no one outside. So, of course, what's being suggested is totally normal. Totally normal.
What is
Yes.
about that?
Sorry?
What is normal about that?
About there being no one?
Yeah.
Well, it's naturally how it is, one could say. Totally. Seen from the person would think this seems crazy. What do you mean there is no one? Izzy's the anomaly, and, you know, she's fallen away, she's died, and what is being me, so to speak, what is feeling like a me is normal, and Izzy's had this strange mystical experience. Of course not, no. The naturally how it is this, and there is no one. Nice to meet you. Okay, another one in the chat. Is deep acceptance or complete surrender to what is possible? Well, of course not. No. What is, I mean, if you want to say so, one could say what is naturally deep acceptance in terms of, I mean, there just is no one to accept or not accept. It just is what is. I mean, this thing of to accept or not is not even a thing. So to say what is deep acceptance doesn't really make sense. But if one wanted to use those words. But no, this idea that there is someone who could accept or who could surrender to what is already seems to set up 2 or 3 or whatever. There's me, and I can surrender to what is. No, of course not. There's just what is. And if it appears that there's a body saying, I'm trying to surrender to what is, or I'm trying to go with the flow, or whatever, then that's just what appears to be happening. There is no option even to go with the flow. You know, the relaxed person might think, you know, I'm very relaxed. I just go with the flow and just, you know, take things in my stride. And of course, that's just what appears to be happening. But there is no one who can do this.
Hey, Izzyline.
Hi, Rosa.
Good morning. You know, this is so stunning. All the figures talking. This is so clear, you know. This is so mindless, blind, as you say. So lovely. Just want to share this with you. I don't know. It's maybe because of your appearance, smiling, and I just love you. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, thanks, Rosa.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you again.
You too.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello.
Hello. This is Antonio. Can you see me?
Oh,
by the
hi.
way?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Hi, how are you? I just
Yeah, good.
also, yeah, nice to see you. I just wanted to say a huge thanks to you.
Oh.
Yeah, have no questions and don't need any answers in a way. Just, yeah, not even relaxed. Just want to be passive, receive your radiance, see that how you provide. Because people just ask so funny questions, and you give, I'd say, serious questions in a funny way, and you give a funny answer in a serious way, which kind of collapses them. Yeah, and that's great. And yeah, thank you so much, and love you so much. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I let you to be as you are.
Oh.
That's great. Thank
Nice
you.
to see you.
Nice to see you.
Hello.
Hiya.
Yeah, your message is different from Tony Parsons. He's more of an assassin, and you have a kinder, kinder message, you know. And but you both have the same effect of deleting the me. So yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Okay, again in the chat. Can listening to non-dual messages create an opening for the collapse of me-ness? Well, of course, this is said as a story, one could say, that there can just be a resonance with what is suggested in these meetings, online, on Zoom, whatever. There can seem to just be an unconditional yes. That just, yeah, of course, there is no one. But of course, this resonance, one could say, is totally energetic. So, like everything, of course. So there is no one, or there is no one, but there is no one who's saying, oh yes, this is it, this is the truth, this is right, because of course there is no truth. And this is not pointing to an it that this is. So, I mean, energetically, one could say an unconditional yes. And then this apparent contraction, which is only an illusion, an apparent illusion, can just seem to explode into boundlessness. As I say, to be revealed that there only ever was boundlessness, boundless energy, and that there never was this actual contraction on the body, around the body, whatever. That me never happened and was totally impossible. Total impossibility. So yes, of course, as a story, one could say there can seem to be this apparent collapse, perhaps. But of course, there's no cause and effect. You know, I was listening to Izzy and that's why this collapsed. No, I mean, totally random in that sense, of course, because there is no actual collapse. So it could never be said that it happened because I listened to Zoom with Izzy on a Wednesday. No, there's just no cause, totally uncaused already. Okay, in the chat. I realised today that time is an illusion and that whatever I was looking for was a picture of enlightenment in the future. Is it true that doing this is a sort of identification with forms? Is it true that doing this is a sort of identification with forms? I'm not really sure what the last bit means. I think it might have, I don't know, I remember forms being something to do with Buddhism, but I can't remember. That's how good my knowledge was. Well, I mean, I'll try and answer in terms of what I think the question's saying. So, yeah, I mean, of course, time is the illusion, one could say, the apparent illusion, and time is the me, so to speak, of course. So there is no me that believes or feels there to be time. The sense of time is the sense of me, the apparent sense of me. And yes, of course, me always seems to project liberation or enlightenment into the so-called future then. But of course, yeah, there is no future. There is no enlightenment or liberation. So one could say, is doing this an identification with forms? Well, of course not really, because there's no person that is identified with forms, such as, if you're meaning forms like time, enlightenment. No, this sense, as I say, this sense of there being time is the sense of there being someone, or the sense of there being a future liberation is the sense of there being someone. There's no person who then believes in a future liberation. This sense that there is a future liberation is the sense of me. So in this sense, there's no sort of identification with the apparent idea that there is a liberation. Is just, I mean, this is just what appears to be happening, of course, but there is no actual liberation, of course not. So I'm not really sure if that answers what you were asking, but where does then this seeming person or seeking energy come from? Well, of course, no, there is no seeming person. There is no seeking energy in that sense as a separate seeking energy. So of course it doesn't come from anywhere. I mean, nothing comes from anywhere. What is totally uncaused. It doesn't have an origin or a source or a god or a Big Bang or whatever. No. Sitting on Zoom, apparently sitting on Zoom, does not have a beginning. And it doesn't have an end. So of course nothing comes from anywhere. What is doesn't come from anywhere, but this seeming person obviously doesn't even happen. So even more so doesn't come from anywhere. Of course not. It's just not even a thing.